Peroto asks the question, what would happen if Peggle was an arcade action platformer? It's a really weird mashup of ideas that quite happily works, and it's a unique idea that kept me well amused across its runtime so far, and the game is due out at the end of this month. Peroto sees you playing as this space person that is flying around trying to clear all of the red pegs in each level. Now each level will be filled with red pegs and white pegs. You don't need to worry about the white pegs, but they're often in the way of the red pegs, so you need to kind of clear them out. But instead of having a time limit, instead you have limited ammo, and so you need to platform to the right places to then launch your ball into play. And because each level is built like a jungle gym pachinko machine, it's probably the best way to describe it, you'll need to make sure that you use your platforming skills and your aim to keep the balls in check and chaotic and bouncing around doing all kinds of damage for as long as possible. Levels will have areas where the balls can fall out of play, and you want to try and avoid that where possible. And because they can ricochet off of you, sometimes you can use the platforming skills to kind of push a ball into a place where you want it to then hit either a bounce pad or a warp hole or smash a destructible wall. Or there's lots of these blue platforms that are like seesaws, and they'll just spin around from whatever weight has hit them from a certain angle. There's also lots of movable platforms, for example. So the levels are alive and the balls will ricochet and cause all kinds of carnage depending on where you throw them from and just what's going on in the environment. Along the way, you'll also have loads of pickups that you can try and platform to and collect, and these will do things like making the balls bigger and more electrified so that they slide through like objects in the screen. It could be that they are shot further, which means that you can do more damage from a wider radius, or it could be that your jump gets higher, for example, or you can move faster. And all of these are very helpful. The problem is that you've only got 5 shots at the beginning of each level to try and cause this carnage, and this is where the Peroto tokens come into play. In each level there are 3 tokens, Po, Ro and To, and you'll need to collect them within the 5 ammo limit so that you can then get another 15 shots to play with. Now there is a randomised pickup that seems to float into the game that allows you to have 1,000 balls, and that's quite good because it's almost as if you've then unlocked a crazy unlimited mode. You can just fire things at random, and it's utter chaos and good fun and very satisfying actually to watch it all just shoot out and explode everywhere. But largely you'll be looking at what do I do with those remaining 15 shots once I've got to them. So each level has kind of 2 phases. Firstly, trying to get the Peroto tokens, because sometimes they'll be blocked behind pegs and you have to be very precise in how to get them. And then once you've got those, you'll then have to think about how do I clear these remaining 15 red pegs with the 15 shots that are available. Each level comes with 3 additional challenges that you can then clear as you complete a level. And some of them involve trying to get to the end of the level without using those Peroto tokens, and that's quite an effort. Some of it will put in clear the level in under a minute or under 2 minutes, or using a certain amount of balls, for example, or something like that. These are all entirely optional, you don't need to worry about them, but they're good replayability factor levels, because as you unlock a level you can then go back and replay it in any order that you want afterwards. The other key thing with Peroto is that there are boss battles at the end of each area, and there's 4 areas in the game as it launches out at the end of this month. Now those bosses involve like a giant sun ball of fire, firing out all kinds of attack weapons at you that then can push you off of your platforms, or if the sun hits you, you then go like whoosh and then fly off the screen. And you have 10 lives in which to survive these different levels whilst trying to shoot about 1,000 balls at this sun to try and kill it. But what I really like about the boss levels is each one is very unique and different. And Boss World 3 was really difficult because it turns the game into an endless runner style level where you're having to use not only all of the pachinko ball flying around mechanics, but you're using all of the platforming because there's lots of like disparate platforms for you to try and jump around to and boost to and all of that kind of stuff. So it was really quite tricky to complete, but very satisfying once I did. What that did do, though, is expose that sometimes the jump mechanic is a little bit floaty and imprecise, because it was asking me for precision, which the game up until that point hadn't really demanded. And then when it did, I found that actually sometimes the physics of the space person was just a little too inconsistent for its own good. And whilst that inconsistency breeds chaos in the standard levels, sometimes when it's asking for a bit more in the boss levels, it falls down slightly. That's really my only complaint with Peroto. It's a really succinct but well-designed game that allows you to hit the minimum standards of progression quite easily, but if you want to then really home in on really great high scores and completing all of those optional challenges, there's plenty of fun here for you to have afterwards. And so yeah, for something that feels genuinely unique and interesting, and like a mashup of Peggle versus Pang, I guess, but trapped in a pachinko machine, this is a really interesting game to play. So Peroto, out on the 25th of October. Give it a wish list and take a look at it when it comes out.
Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.